Hello, welcome to my webinar with Growth and Wellness. I am excited to have you here. As you come in, feel free to put your favorite winter activity in the chat. I love sitting around my warm, cozy fireplace with my family. That's my favorite wintertime activity, but I also love watching my giant hound mix roll around in fresh snow. She just can't get enough, and it is pure joy. I will try and keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me, and I will try to answer them as we go along. I will also have time at the end for Q&A. Okay, I see escaping to warmer weather. That's a great winter activity, getting out of the cold. Yeah, that will tie into some of the things that we'll talk about later today about getting sunlight and staying warm. So, great example. I will be recording this presentation, and I'll be sending out a link to view or share for future reference, along with a list of resources discussed in this webinar. So a little about me. I am a licensed master's psychologist and certified autism spectrum disorder clinical specialist. I began my career providing applied behavior analysis, working with young kids on the autism spectrum. This experience was really influential for me, and I do include many of the aspects in my approach today. I then worked in a diversion program where I helped teens in the juvenile justice system. And then I became licensed, and I've been practicing as a psychologist for a little over 5 years in multiple settings. I decided to open my own practice this year in order to provide a better therapy experience for my clients. I chose to specialize in autism after having difficulty finding quality supports in a timely manner. I earned my certification, and I became trained in autism diagnostic testing to better serve my clients. Just a disclosure, I am not being paid for this training. I am not receiving royalties or compensations for sharing any of the products mentioned in this presentation. I am just sharing tools that I believe are valuable. I put this together to help our community to have a better understanding of depression, its causes and symptoms, in hopes to destigmatize mental health conditions. I hope this presentation also deepens your understanding of how the mind and body are intertwined and the impact that has on our mood. And my biggest goal for this presentation is that you walk away with tools and strategies that help get you through this winter. As a reminder, this is not a substitute for professional mental health care. Let's start by defining clinical depression. While it is normal for everyone to feel sad, depression is more than just feeling sad. It is a real mental health condition. It does not mean that someone is weak or that they're not trying hard enough. And arguably, I have seen some of the strongest people I have ever known have to fight depression. Depression does include feeling sad, but it goes beyond that and causes impairment in functioning. And those feelings of sadness are present most of the day, nearly every day. A person with depression will see an impairment in their ability to perform at work or in school, in relationships, or when taking care of their regular responsibilities due to those symptoms. Previously, seasonal depression was its own disorder known as seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. Yeah, SAD, ironic. The newest diagnostic criteria no longer has this listed as a separate condition, and now only major depressive disorder is recognized, but it can include a specifier of seasonal pattern for winter or spring. So I will just be saying depression instead of SAD. To best identify depression, look for changes in a person's typical or baseline behaviors. To be diagnosed with depression, a person must have either or both depressed mood and or loss of pleasure in activities that used to bring joy, in addition to a few other symptoms. To be considered depression, the following symptoms must be present for a minimum of 2 weeks. Depression can cause an effect on appetite, and that can include symptoms of weight loss or weight gain when not dieting or attempting to change weight. People will often experience a change in sleeping patterns, either becoming unable to fall or stay asleep, or becoming overly tired and sleeping more than usual. People may experience increased restlessness and movement, or conversely, decreased and slowed physical movement and thought. People often experience increased fatigue or feel exhausted nearly every day, even if they are sleeping more than usual. People frequently experience feelings of low self-worth or increased feelings of inappropriate guilt and blame, such as feeling like everything is my fault or I'm the cause of bad things happening. I liken depression to a fog. Not only does it skew our perspective about the world, but it also reduces our ability to concentrate and even make decisions. Lastly, we see an increase in thoughts of death, especially if untreated. People may experience passive suicidal ideation with thoughts of, I wish I would die, or I wish that something would kill me, or maybe even have active suicidal ideation. According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 29% of Americans have been diagnosed with clinical depression in their lifetime. Depression is common, it can be deadly, and it should be taken seriously. If you or someone you know is struggling with depression, get support. The National Institute of Mental Health reports up to 90% of people experience complete remission for those who seek treatment. There is help and there is hope. Unfortunately, there is not a simple answer to what causes depression. To the best of our current scientific understanding, most experts believe that depression is caused by a combination of physiological, social, and psychological factors. Essentially, nurture works on what nature endows. Physiological factors can include things like our genetics, making us more likely to experience depression if a family member has had depression. Medical conditions such as diabetes or heart disease can also play a role and create hormone changes. Changes in hormones over our lifetime, for example, puberty, pregnancy, or menopause, can also lead to changes in mood. Overall, changes in hormones or brain chemistry can often create changes in our body's ability to regulate things like mood, sleep, and appetite, contributing to the risk of developing depression. Stressful or traumatic life events can increase the risk of depression. Being exposed to chronic stress or being stuck in a traumatizing circumstance can have a significant impact and can even change our brain function and structure. Limited access to affordable housing, food, healthcare, and social support increase stress and can be traumatic, contributing to depression risk. As I'm sure we all know, life is not always rainbows and butterflies. We cannot completely avoid unpleasant or stressful situations, no matter how much we might want to. Therefore, there is a greater risk of depression if helpful and appropriate coping skills are not in place to deal with those negative emotions. Common unhelpful coping skills can include negative self-talk, avoidance, and turning to substances such as alcohol. Okay, who likes science? While it is important to mention that no single chemical is solely responsible for depression or any other condition, it is still worth learning about them and what they do. There are 3 chemicals that are neurotransmitters that facilitate communication in the brain, believed to help regulate mood. Dopamine is associated with our reward centers. Dopamine makes us feel and stay motivated to continue tasks or activities. There is some evidence that reduced dopamine levels can contribute to depression for some people. Norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter and a hormone, and it works alongside adrenaline to help when we are in fight or flight. Norepinephrine helps us stay alert, focused, gets our blood pumping, and our heart racing. Too much norepinephrine does have links to increasing anxiety. Research is mixed, and targeting norepinephrine may alleviate depression in some people, but not so for others. Serotonin is known as the feel-good chemical. Serotonin has many jobs throughout the body. It plays a role in gut health, blood clotting, and sexual function, in addition to helping regulate mood. Serotonin is one of the most commonly known chemicals thanks to antidepressant medications like Prozac, which specifically act on serotonin. Newer medications act on both serotonin and norepinephrine to improve mood. Having a better understanding of brain chemistry can help us choose better treatments. Many people do find relief in adding medication management alongside therapy to their treatment plan. New research suggests that chemical imbalances are not the cause for depression, and researchers are instead exploring what causes those lower levels of neurotransmitters. I use a holistic approach in my work and in my life, addressing concerns by looking at the mind, body, and the spirit. I believe all parts of us are intertwined. Our body cannot fully be healthy if our mind is not, and vice versa. I really like the polyvagal approach because it helps us become more in tune with our physiological states, specifically with our nervous system, to improve our mental well-being. I will be referencing back to this chart quite a bit. Take note, the green safety zone is where we mainly want to be, and depression occurs when our nervous system is activated and when we are in freeze. So let's really get into it. We feel our best mentally and physically in the green zone, or in safety. When we are here, we are emotionally grounded, we are connected, curious, and present. Physiologically, our digestion is working well, we have a strong immune response, we are able to have rest and repair, and even our cognition is optimal. When there is a threat to safety, our nervous system responds and becomes activated, moving us into fight or flight. This could be triggered by a physical threat of danger, such as being chased by an angry bear, or a perceived threat like missing an assignment. When in fight or flight, we see feelings like anxiety or anger, irritability, frustration, and worry. Our nervous system responds to help us by promoting the functions that would allow us to face that threat or get out. So we see an increase in our defensive and survival responses and hormones like adrenaline, while our digestion, cognition, and relational abilities lessen. This is not inherently bad. We do want to be able to respond to a threat when needed. However, for some of us, our nervous system is more sensitive to activation, which can create too much anxiety or anger, and putting us in fight and flight when we don't really need to. It's not necessary or not even helpful. If the threat persists, we move into freeze, causing us to feel hopeless and numb, and we shut down. Depression occurs in this freeze zone. Here we see an increase in fuel storage and pain-numbing endorphins, and a decrease in our immune response, social behavior, and cognition. Our goal is to find ways to deactivate our nervous system and keep us out of depression, and be mostly in that green zone where we can be connected, secure, and content. There can be any number of contributing factors to feeling depressed in the winter, but I commonly see these factors contribute to low moods. We get less sunlight, we have shorter days, and that can throw off our vitamin D levels and our circadian rhythm, leaving us feeling dysregulated and tired. The setting sun and dark sky send signals to our body indicating it is time to rest, and it produces melatonin. This leaves us feeling even sleepier and less motivated. Feeling cold can increase feelings of sadness, and the cold weather can drive us indoors where it is warm. Because of this, we tend to be less physically active and less socially engaged when stuck inside. But at least we're warm. For those who celebrate holidays, it can be a joyous time, but it can also come with a lot of holiday stress and strain. We can feel overwhelmed and overscheduled trying to schedule family gatherings, time with friends, school concerts, fundraising events, and make sure we attend that work event, that social event, and the list goes on. Not to mention all of the time and money it takes to prepare for those events. Speaking of finances, gift giving is a common tradition, but it can really add financial strain to our pocketbooks in addition to other expenses. Utilities like heat go up and our spending overall increases, adding stress to the season. The media, particularly social media, can contribute to setting unrealistic expectations for our season. It may no longer feel adequate to just spend time together. Now it feels required to take a beautiful family photo in those matching pajamas and make that Pinterest-inspired feast for dinner and make sure every single Insta-worthy moment is captured in just the right lighting to show the rest of the world how happy we are. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Well, these unrealistic expectations can leave us feeling disappointed after a perfectly wonderful event. And the pressure to capture and post can take away from us really being present during those celebrations. The holidays can bring another expectation of connection, specifically with family. This can be really painful for those who have lost family members and are grieving, or for those who have strained or even abusive relationships with their family. Social pressure to be around family can have us feeling even more isolated and lonely, even if we are in a room full of people. I don't know about you all, but I certainly do indulge in more cookies, treats, and holiday meal favorites in the winter than I do during the rest of the year. This change in diet can take a toll on the body with increased sugar, carbs, and alcohol. If you'd like to share, please offer your favorite seasonal food in the chat. Mine is absolutely pumpkin spice everything. I love it so much that I even named my dog Pumpkin Spice, the one in the beginning of the slideshow by the fireplace. Any other holiday favorites? We often have a pumpkin roll in the house, which I don't mind for the holidays. My husband's favorite is a nice pumpkin roll, so I've gotten quite good at making those, and they definitely include pumpkin spice. Cannolis, okay. A more unusual holiday favorite, but common with Italians, ravioli. Okay, I see a theme here. Very good. Sounds delicious. With overloaded schedules, increased demands, who needs something else to do? I do get it, but hear me out. Routines can be great helpers when we get into the groove. Yes, starting or adding to our normal routine will be more work up front, but it will save so much effort in the long run. As I have heard it said, and as I have lived, when we do what's easy now, life gets more difficult. When we do what's difficult now, life gets easier. I don't always like that, but I understand it and I have seen it. Prevention is our best defense against depression. Helping us build resilience and creating a routine with healthy habits is the easiest way to do so. Once a routine is established, it can help take away the decision fatigue, and it will allow us to stay motivated, and once difficult behaviors turn into easy automatic habits. Build a routine that is balanced, meeting your unique physiological, emotional, and social needs. Create a system that is specified just for you. If revamping your daily flow feels like too much work, start where you can. Maybe you start with the area that needs the most adjustment, or maybe you decide to start with whatever is easiest to do. Either is okay. Just take steps towards meeting your needs and living the life that you want and the life that you deserve. Once you develop a routine, you still may need to readjust. You may notice you are lacking in one area, or maybe you're giving too much attention to a different area. Pay attention to how you are feeling, and if you are feeling off, that's a good sign that it's out of balance. Really tune into your emotions and learn how to meet your needs. Okay, let's talk about some of the strategies that you can include in your routine. First, addressing the body. You probably know I'm going to say eat nutritious foods and move your body. It's worth repeating because it's one of those things that we all know but don't always do. And I could do, and maybe will do in the future, a whole presentation on how different physical activities and nutrition can really benefit our mental health. Now, you don't only have to eat nutritious foods. Please enjoy your holiday treats, your cannolis and ravioli, and I will be enjoying my pumpkin spice. But try to also get in some foods that help fuel your body too. I would also recommend talking to your primary care provider about getting some blood work done. This can ensure that you are not deficient in anything, particularly vitamin D for us Michiganders. Work with your provider to add supplements or adjust your diet so that you can feel your best. Moving your body can be done joyfully, like through dancing or other physical exercises that you enjoy, which doesn't have to be joyful. I saw a hilarious trend last year of people posting themselves on social media, just kind of angrily walking outside saying, going for a stupid walk for my stupid mental health. And honestly, I really loved that trend. I just thought it was so authentic, but also really productive and healthy. The bottom line is just move and bonus points for getting outside. If you can't get outside, try adding some light into your life. And for even more benefit, your morning. Sitting near a window or using a light therapy lamp can help regulate your circadian rhythm to get better sleep at night and feel more energized in the morning. Sunlight exposure can also help increase levels of serotonin, that feel-good chemical. The polyvagal theory also has a concept of toning the vagus nerve to help deactivate the nervous system and bring us back into that green safety zone, maybe out of freeze and depression or fight or flight. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body, and it is unique in that it sends information both from and to the brain. Research supports that toning the vagus nerve for only 15 minutes a day can help improve mood and decrease anxiety overall. Some ways to tone the vagus nerve are by humming and singing, cold exposure, for instance, ending your shower with cold water, and foot and ear massages. I'll demonstrate a little bit of an ear massage for you. You'll start by taking your thumb, and you can put any fingers you want. I can start with 2. Thumb right on the back, and just gently massage the inside of our ear. You can add a little bit of tugging gently. We are not causing any pain. Something as simple as that for 15 minutes a day has clinical benefits to improve mood and decrease anxiety. If ear massages aren't for you, that's okay. Maybe it's a foot massage, maybe it's humming and singing your favorite tunes. These are some ideas on how to honor your emotional needs. First and foremost, practicing gratitude. Taking time out of each day to look at what you are grateful for can be an incredible mood booster. We don't have to always be grateful for huge, wonderful things, and some days we are just grateful that we survived. But try to find those glimmers of joy. Maybe it's cozy sweatpants or a delicious cup of tea or time with your pets. Just take a little bit of time to reflect on anything that went well. Prioritizing can be a great strategy to protect your emotional resources. This can include more than just putting the most important things at the top of the list. It can also include taking things off of the list. I love the concept of a not to-do list, where you write down all of the things that can wait, and that reduces your mental load. Journaling is another good way to process emotions and your experiences, but it can help just set some time aside for you to practice reflection and express yourself. Expressing your emotions can be done in so many ways. You can try things like dancing, music, art, walking, talking, working out, sports, or any other activity that allows you to get your emotions out there. See which ones you like, save them for when you need them. Set boundaries with yourself and others to protect your emotional well-being. You can set boundaries with yourself around how much time you want to spend on things or how much resources you want to put. You can limit how much time you want to work on a project or how much you want to spend or how long you want to be on social media. Set boundaries with others to help keep you feeling safe. While others may not like it when you set a boundary, you have a responsibility to put your needs first. This may look like limiting the amount of time you spend at a holiday gathering or offering only to pick up a store-bought contribution rather than making one from scratch. Set boundaries with others that can help keep your life in balance. Reading books, or in my case, listening to books and podcasts, can be a great way to get inspired and nourish your emotional well-being. If you are really struggling to find ways to express yourself or feel the emotions are too intense to explore on your own, please seek support. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for emotional regulation. Mindfulness is a cognitive skill. Some consider it a type of meditation, but it brings your attention and focus to the present moment without judgment or interpretation. Mindfulness is a great antidote to the nervous system becoming activated. Anxiety, in particular, takes us out of our present moment to focus and worry about what is going to happen and not focus on what is happening. This can make us feel unsafe and insecure. Similarly, depression takes us out of the moment, often having us reflect on bad things that have happened in the past or having us feeling hopeless about the future. Mindfulness can be done anywhere and it's free, and I like things that are free. You can do almost anything mindfully, so feel free to pick whatever works best for you. To practice mindfulness, follow these steps. First, pick a time and place to practice being present. Then, take the time to observe your present moment using all of your 5 senses. Bring your attention to observing and noticing. Observe how your body feels. Notice any sensations. Pay attention to how your breath feels. When observing, let go of any judgment. For example, if you are observing your breath, don't focus on, I'm breathing really heavy, then coming to the conclusion of, something must be wrong. Instead, just observe it as facts. My breath is rapid. It feels warm as it goes in and out of my nose. If you're new to this skill, you will likely have more judgments and your mind will wander. Who's really ever good at a new skill anyways? When those judgments arise and your mind does start to wander, just gently bring yourself back to the present. Recognize that your mind has wandered and gently guide yourself back to the present. In theory, mindfulness is really simple, but it is difficult to achieve. We are training our body really to go against our automatic process, so it is a skill and it takes practice. But the more present we are, the more fulfilling life is. Some of my favorite activities that encourage mindfulness includes going for a walk outside. I get to notice and observe what I see, hear, and feel. The outdoors brings many sensations that can help keep us focused on the present. For those who are like me and have a wandering mind, I also really enjoy guided meditation. This is a great resource as you will have a voice prompting your attention back to the activity at hand, reminding you to stay present when your mind has wandered. Breathing exercises are another great way to calm our nervous system and again, practice mindfulness. As the weather gets colder, I really do enjoy my warm drinks, my pumpkin spice lattes and chai teas, and practicing mindfulness as I'm drinking allows me to increase my pleasure of those beverages, but it also just is a nice time to focus and be present. I frequently use the 5 senses grounding activity. For those of you who got my October newsletter, I included a worksheet to practice this. The 5 senses grounding is just a more structured way of utilizing our 5 senses to be present. We identify 5 things we can see, 4 things we can touch, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste within our environment. The order and number are not important. If you try this activity but you can only remember 4 of the senses, that is fine. If you get the order wrong, no problem. The goal is not to test your memory skills. The goal is to have you focusing on the present moment. Body scans can help us be more present in our bodies and take note of our physical needs. I generally like to start at my toes and work my way up to my head, observing how each section of my body feels, paying attention to where I'm holding tension, and allowing myself to relax those muscles. There are wonderful body scans available on YouTube if you are interested in that activity. As we saw with the polyvagal chart, our nervous system is at its best when we are able to connect with others. I think when we feel good, we have more motivation to connect, but when we are in fight, flight, or freeze, we may not feel like socializing, but we may really need it the most then. But social connection can be used to pull us out of those fight, flight, or freeze states and help get us back into safety. Using social connection as a tool may take some effort to implement because we may not feel like it, but it does really pay off. Face-to-face interactions are wonderful. We can even get co-regulation, where our body takes signals from the other person's body to be calm and deactivate the nervous system. But face-to-face is not the only way. Call a friend, have a video chat, hop on Discord. Increase interactions with the people that you trust and people that make you feel comfortable to be yourself, valued, accepted, and validated. Connect with people who can help you solve problems and who take your concerns seriously. Laughter also stimulates the vagus nerve for toning, so find others that you enjoy and can laugh with. Just because you are in a social situation does not mean you will have social connection. For example, if you're hanging out with an acquaintance who makes you sort of feel uncomfortable or who kind of pushes your boundaries, hanging out with them is not going to help you feel safe and connected. If you don't feel like you have solid social support, seek out others or groups that share your values and your interests. You can explore volunteer groups, sports, clubs. If you have groups at work or school, those are great places to meet others. You don't need a whole network, really. You just need 1 or 2 people who really understand you and can be there for you. Take note of relationships that leave you feeling bad or disrespected and stressed. These may be relationships that you choose to create some distance in, and then you can use that time and energy in other ways. Set boundaries in these relationships, not only to protect yourself, but honestly, setting boundaries can help you maintain relationships that are important to you and keep them from ending. Now, be cautious of social media. Yes, it is a tool that can help people connect and people can meet others with like interests, but it can also leave us feeling lonely. It is a great tool, like I said, to meet people with common interests or keep in touch with people who are geographically far, but it can also warp our expectations of what social connection is and what life is supposed to be like. Research actually shows that people who spend more time on social media feel lonelier and they have more FOMO, or fear of missing out. A study by Pennsylvania University suggests limiting time spent on social media to 30 minutes a day improves our mood and helps regulate anxiety and loneliness. So, yes, use social media, but in balance. With my clients, I almost always need to address some form of grief when helping them with depression. So I felt it was important to also include grief here. As we discussed, the winter season can have us feeling lonelier, and the holidays can have us longing for our loved ones, all exacerbating the feelings of grief and depression. Grief and depression do look a lot alike. There's sadness, crying, trouble sleeping, change in appetite, lack of motivation. Receiving ongoing support from others protects people from their grief turning into loss. Support helps them process their emotions and gradually resume functioning while still honoring the memories. Those who lack support while grieving, unfortunately, are at higher risk of developing clinical depression. Grief can be complex, and it can look different for each person. There are even different types of grief. There's chronic grief, which can last years and is often related to traumatic loss. There's anticipatory grief, which begins before the loss of the person, but often occurs during a terminal illness. There's secondary loss, when a bereaved person experiences an additional loss, and ambiguous loss, which occurs when there's a mental or emotional disappearance, such as the ending of a relationship, but the person is still alive. Regardless of the type of grief, we need to hold compassion for ourselves. The acronym WINTER can be used to remind us to meet our needs. This was developed to help people through grief, but I think is still helpful for everyone during the season. First, add warmth and coziness into your environment. That may be with blankets, sweaters, fuzzy socks, candles, or whatever makes your space cozy for you. As you know, I really like a nice cozy fireplace. Make time for introspection and reflection. Allow yourself time and space to feel your emotions and explore your thoughts. You can do this alone, introspect, but it can be done in a group or in therapy with others as well. For many, winter represents the end of a life cycle and death. It is a time where plants go dormant, animals leave, people stay indoors. Find a way to bring newness, growth, and life into your season. Some ways to do this might be through finding a new hobby, growing indoor plants, or signing up for a class, enjoying a new seasonal recipe. Find some way to add some newness and life. Allow yourself time and space. You cannot rush your emotions, no matter how much you might want to. Honor them as they are, feel them, express them, and let them pass. Self-compassion and empathy will be crucial for healing. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself what you need without judgment. Lastly, there's rest. We need rest to heal and repair. This applies both physically and emotionally. Grief creates stress on our body, and we may feel increased fatigue. Don't push yourself. Allow yourself time to heal and repair. We can really get into patterns of dismissing or invalidating our needs. We might say to ourselves, oh, I don't have time for that. I'll do that later. Or, I don't know, do I really need to do that? I like to encourage people to challenge that perspective and view themselves as a child. Maybe ask yourself, if these needs were the needs of a child, would you take care of them? And if the answer is yes, then you need that too. I believe that creating meaning is crucial for healing. Again, this was developed with grief in mind, but I think this can apply to any stressful or traumatic experience that contributes to depression. You can create meaning by using the loss to feel motivated to accomplish something, or by finding ways to symbolize that relationship while still engaging in this life. Some examples of creating meaning might be to fundraise for medical conditions, or spread awareness, volunteer or donate, reflect on lessons learned either in that relationship or lessons learned in that loss. Of course, practice gratitude. This can be practicing gratitude for the time spent with that loved one, or practicing gratitude for the support that you're receiving after the loss. Communicate with that person, write letters or talk to their spirit. Look at pictures and tell stories to share their memory. You can put their picture and a plate of them at a gathering on the table, or do something the way that they would have done, such as treating others the way that they did. Meaning is very personal, and you may have other ideas that would be better for you in that relationship. Find a way to honor that loved one in a way that is true to you and the relationship. For more about this, I like the book Finding Meaning: The Sixth Stage of Grief by David Kessler. So I am biased, but I think that if you are wondering if it's time to get support, then the answer is probably yes. When it comes to depression, the longer it goes untreated, the worse it gets. I suggest seeking support at the first signs to prevent it from becoming too disruptive. I listed some indicators suggesting that it is time to seek support, but I think they really boil down to 3 questions. Are your emotions feeling too intense and out of control? Are your relationships suffering? And are you unable to fulfill your personal or occupational responsibilities? If the answers are yes, it's a good time to get support. There are different ways to get support. There's therapy, whether that's individual, couples, or family, support groups, there's medication management, you can receive spiritual guidance, or attend a 12-step program. Start somewhere and adjust as needed. I imagine if you are here, either you or a loved one has dealt with depression. When that depression fog sets in, it can be difficult to remember the things that help us to feel better. The earlier we take action, the easier it is to manage. I would encourage everyone to make a written plan. That way you can reference it if you need to. And even if you never look at it again, just the act of writing it down will help it stick better in our memory. Start with what you will do for prevention. This can be all of the things that we talk about adding to our routine, or this can be things that you can do just that help keep you in that green safety zone. Next, list possible signs and symptoms, perhaps things you've experienced before or things that may be present in family members. You can even include known triggers here. This can help keep an eye out for our overall mood so that gradual changes don't sneak up on us. And it will also remind us to give ourselves some extra love and nurturing around triggering times and events to build resilience. We will all experience negative feelings, so identify tools, coping skills, and things you can do to manage or express those negative feelings. Lastly, I do think it's important to put names and numbers of people you can contact if you need support. I know that we all have cell phones and they're all in there, but sometimes our cell phone battery is dead, or we may be in an emergency situation and need to reach that person. Include their names and numbers on your written plan. You can also include crisis lines or hotlines. Having a written plan makes it a lot easier to take care of ourselves when our brain is not working at its best. I will also share in the resources a safety plan template that I use with my clients. Feel free to fill in the blanks on there, or you can just use it as a guide to create your own. Here are some resources to contact if you need more immediate support. Crisis lines can really help when we are in desperate need of support, including times when we are having suicidal thoughts. Warm lines are there for times when we are struggling and still need support. This might be a time of emotional distress, and we just need someone there so that it does not get worse. If you are looking for support, we are here to help. I offer services that go beyond helping with depression. I offer individual therapy and family therapy, primarily helping with autism, mood disorders like depression, and relationships. I also do diagnostic testing for autism using the ADOS-2, and I provide emotional support animal evaluations. Here is a picture of my beautiful hound rolling around. This was during the summer, but she does this exact thing in the snow. My colleague Steve offers additional support to families by providing parent support and education. You do not have to do this alone, and we are here for you. Okay, we have just a couple minutes for questions if anyone has anything that they would like to ask. Okay, great question. How do I find guided meditations? I think there's a lot of places that you can look to those. You can hop on YouTube if you like. If you are, if you use tools like Spotify, they have guided meditations there. I believe apps like Headspace also include those. I would just check out YouTube. There's one really great channel that I personally like called An Honest Meditation. I really like this channel because they are truly honest meditations, but I will say, as a warning, they do use adult language, but it's honest. Great. Any other questions? Okay, well, feel free to let me know in the chat, but I would love to hear if there are any topics that you would like to see done in the future. You can also email me back. Oh, you're very welcome. If there's other topics you would like more presentations on, let me know, and I'm happy to take that into consideration for other webinars. Okay, thank you again for attending this presentation. I hope you will leave here today feeling more confident and hopeful with your tools for this winter season. If you are looking for more support, Growth and Wellness offers services for you and your family. You don't have to do it alone. Thank you again for attending, and I will be sending out the recording and resources very soon. Take care, everyone.